Yes, Geordies, welcome back to another episode. The first thing I want to say, as always, I hope everyone's well. The second thing I want to say is you guys make me laugh because after yesterday's video, the amount of people that said, "Is Antonio Mango your real name?" had us creasing. Even on Twitter, somebody commented on one of my posts saying, "Is Antonio Mango your real name?" I just thought it was brilliant from you guys. Just made a joke out of it. And in all honesty, right, that's what I want. This kind of relationship with you guys. But the reason why I done it, I feel like I need to explain this. I didn't do it because I felt like I needed to do it. I felt like I wanted to do it because I was thinking on the other night before I recorded the video, I was thinking, if I was in your shoes as watching a content creator, watching a YouTuber, I want to know a little bit about them. And I felt like by me telling you a little bit about this, I'm not going to air me dirty laundry, so keep all your questions to yourself. But I felt I made it a little bit more personal. And I think that is important when you're watching somebody or watching somebody religiously throughout the season. You want to know a little bit about them. You want to feel like you can connect to them a little bit, if that makes sense, without getting too cheesy. And that is why I done it. It's not because I felt like I needed to do it. I felt like I wanted to do it. So I just want to explain that. But you guys do make me laugh. But we've got an interesting video coming up tonight because guess what is happening tomorrow? Sorry, I mean tonight, because I'm recording this video Wednesday night, but you're going to view it on Thursday. So guess what's happening tonight? The UEFA Champions League draw is back. We will find out our opponents, and I cannot wait. I am dying, desperate to watch Newcastle United in the Champions League. It is so exciting. These are the moments us fans watch football for. Watching your team compete and play at the highest level doesn't get any better than this. So we've got an interesting video coming up today because I want to talk about how the Champions League draw works, how the competition works, and I'm guessing all of you already know, but there might be one or two out there that don't really understand it. And then we'll be looking at what team we could actually draw tonight. And then as our striker search continues, we're going to look at Dušan Vlahović, whether he would be a good fit for Newcastle United. We'll be looking at stats, strengths, weaknesses, and how to get the best out of them. And then tomorrow's video is going to be a match preview. Leeds United away. How are the lads? So let's get stuck into it. But firstly, before we even move on with the video, I want to know who you want in the Champions League in the comments. Let me know the best away game that you want, the best home game that you want. Do you want the big teams? Do you want the easy teams? What do you want coming out of this Champions League draw? Let me know in the comments. But let's crack on, because since we were last in the Champions League, it's a lot different. Instead of being drawn into groups of 4 teams where each team plays each other home and away, it's now a league format. So it involves 36 teams, and now you play 8 opponents just once. So it's an extra 2 games to what we had last time we were in the Champions League. So it's 36 teams in a single league table. The top 8 teams qualify automatically for the round of 16. Teams positioned between 9th and 16th will have a playoff game against teams between the 17th and 24th, and the winners of that playoff game make up the remaining places for the round of 16. Teams that finish 24th to 36 are eliminated from Europe completely, so nobody drops into the Europa League anymore. So who exactly could Newcastle United face? So Newcastle United cannot face any English teams in the league format. Newcastle are in pot 4, as he had highlighted in the green. The teams in red are all the English teams. So the red teams are the teams that we cannot play. Newcastle will be drawn against 2 teams from each pot. They will face 1 team away from home and the other at home, which makes a total of 8 games. So in pot 1, the teams that we could face: PSG, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Borussia Dortmund, and Barcelona. So we're guaranteed to play 2 of those teams, 1 at home, 1 away. The same with pot 2: Bayer Leverkusen, Atletico Madrid, Atalanta, Villarreal, Juventus, Eintracht Frankfurt, Club Brugge, and Benfica. So again, we will play 2 out of those teams, 1 at home, 1 away. Pot 3: PSV, Ajax, Napoli, Sporting, Olympiacos, Slavia Prague, Bodo Glimt, and Marseille. And then pot 4: Monaco, Galatasaray, St. Union Gilwa, Athletic Club, Paphos, Kyra, Karabag, in Copenhagen. Can't lie, that is exciting, but also tough. But this is what you want as a footballer. Footballers live and breed to play against the highest level. And honestly, if fans can't get excited for the UEFA Champions League and players can't get up for the UEFA Champions League, we may as well just go home. May as well not even enjoy the sport. And this is exactly what you want from your football club. Competing at the highest level. Win, lose or draw, you always back your team. Newcastle fans are certainly one of the best at backing their team. So I hope that makes sense for everybody. And I want each and every single one of you to comment the teams that you would like to face. I mean, give me any of those in pot 1. PSG, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, order. It's all exciting. In pot 2, I actually wouldn't mind a game against Juventus. I don't know why. But also Atletico Madrid would be exciting. In pot 3, I have to go Napoli. Napoli away from home would be beautiful. But also, I would have to go Ajax. And the reason being is because I don't work for that club and I know people within that club. So that would be my preference. Then in pot 4, give me anybody. I fancy our chances there. But yeah, I'm so excited for this season. I don't care what went on behind the scenes. I don't care that there's no sporting director. There's a football site every season. And I am incredibly excited. And I hope you are too. But we'll crack on with strikers because Dušan Vlahović is apparently available now that they've signed Jonathan David. So the first thing we need to do, right? Because this is probably the reason why he's still at Juventus. And that is wages. Wages are a big factor when it comes to signing players. Now, I can only go off what's online, but it's believed that Juventus are willing to accept offers for around £26 million to get him off the wage bill following the arrival of Jonathan David. Now, according to Capology, Dušan Vlahović is Juventus' highest earner. And look how much he's earning. There's no surprise that they want to get him off the wage bill, especially with just 1 year left on his contract. But guess what, guys? He's actually being generous. He said that he would accept a salary of $6 million per year with bonuses spread across 4 years. $6 million per year. Oh, he's happy to drop his wages. That's very nice of you. $6 million per year. That is crazy numbers. Football is going mad. Like, it's crazy. But Vlahović, you're a nice guy for doing that. Thank you very much. But that came from Calcio Mercato, so it might not even be true because you can't believe everything you do read online. So it's absolutely clear. If he was to come to Newcastle United, he would have to take a wage cut because there's absolutely no way we're going to sign him for the wages that he's currently earning. But let's have a look at him and break down some of his stats over his time in Italy. So at Fiorentina was where he really first moved to Italy. He played 108 games, scoring 49 goals, providing 8 assists. During his Juventus career, he's played 146 times, scored 59 goals, provided 14 assists. Now, across his first seasons at Juventus, in all competitions, during the 2021-22 season, he arrived in January, so this is only half a season, played 15 games, scored 7 goals, providing 1 assist. Now, the first half of that season, when he was at Fiorentina, he scored 17 goals from September till January, which is absolutely insane. During the 2022-23 season, played 42 games, scored 14 goals, provided 4 assists. 2023-24 season, played 38 games, scoring 18 goals, providing 3 assists. And then last season, he played 44 games, scoring 17 goals, providing 5 assists. Now, what I did yesterday, so all yous don't have to do it, I sat and I watched Dušan Vlahović at Fiorentina, at Juventus, to see where his strengths lie, how you can get the best out of him, where he doesn't do so well. So I'm going to tell you everything that I found just off sitting in front of the TV and watching Dušan Vlahović yesterday. So I'm going to start with these strengths and what I do really like about him. So he's a striker who can operate in different systems. He can play as a lone striker in a 4-3-3 system or a 4-2-3-1, but he can also play in a 2-tier system, which we're seeing at Juventus. Now, one thing I will say is, I personally think he was at his best when he was at Fiorentina. Now, Fiorentina played exactly the same system as in Newcastle United, 4-3-3 system. And I think that personally, that's how you get the best out of Dušan Vlahović. But the instructions have to be specific in order for him to thrive. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean. So these are the formations that he pretty much occupied during his time in Italy. Fiorentina, he played in a 4-3-3. Where he was a lone striker. When he plays that role, you have to provide him wide service, but also channel runners from midfield. He also played in a 3-5-2 system, mainly at Juventus. Now, in that system, if you're playing him with a partner as a striker, you need to pair him with a mobile striker. Now, in a 4-2-3-1 system, he thrives from having a number 10, feeding him, and the wingers stretch and play. Now, his key traits, the first thing I found and stands out with him is his finishing. He's got elite box instinctives. He's a sharp finisher. He generates a lot of power on his strikes, and he's also left-footed. We do not have a left-footed player in our attack or midfield, so he would offer a bit of balance, but his ball striking ability is one of his standout traits. He's got excellent connection and conviction in his strikes. Now, he stands at 6'3", which makes him excellent with his back to goal. He actually uses his body really smartly. He protects a ball well and draws a lot of fouls. He's really effective with his back to goal. Now, when it comes to technical ability, he's clean, can be efficient, but he's not silky like Alexander Isak. Dušan Vlahović is the type of striker that wants to get on the ball and lay it off, using layoffs, quick combinations, so you have to surround him with midfield runners. I'll be breaking down exactly why when we talk about his weaknesses. Now, his movement is interesting. Now, I will talk about his movement in the box first because he does his best work in the box, I feel. He's got excellent box awareness and he's very much a penalty box predator. Remember when I spoke about having that centre forward gene? Dušan Vlahović has that. He loves to score goals. He's really impressive with his movement in the box. His movement is sharp. He lurks between centre backs. He peels off the shoulders, which makes him go on the blind side. Times he runs to attack crosses really impressively. Now, his movement outside the box is good, but it's not excellent. What he likes to do is hover around the central areas. He's not a drifter like Alexander Isak, where you'll drift out wide. His movement is more similar to somebody like Robert Lewandowski or Ollie Watkins, where he uses the inside channels, making 5-yard darts to escape from his marker. So when it comes to that raw fluidity and rotation in the final third, he's not so comfortable moving out wide like Alexander Isak does, or even Anthony Gordon does when he plays centre forward. So you're not going to get the same movement from Dušan Vlahović as you do from Alexander Isak. Now, I honestly believe he played his best football at Fiorentina, and the reason he did that is because Fiorentina surrounded him with bodies that had midfield runners, that had their wingers inverting, so he was constantly connecting with teammates. Now, he doesn't do so well when he's isolated. So we're going to be breaking it down because I want to show you the heat maps or the positional play from Juventus' season where he had his best season to Fiorentina's where he had his best season. And look at the width Juventus provide that isolates Dušan Vlahović when he's in possession. And that's why he was getting frustrated, and you're often seeing him lose his head when he was at Juventus. And that's another area for improvement. It looks like he's his own self-critic, but massively. It's okay to criticize yourself and feel like you need to do better, but he lets it affect his game. He's kicking bottles when he gets brought off. He's snatching at chances. It's obvious when he's not in the right frame of mind is what I'm trying to say. Now, if you look at these two graphics, Fiorentina played in a lot more narrow system where they had their wingers coming inside and partnering Dušan Vlahović, whereas Juventus was slightly different. They wanted to open up the space, which relied on a little bit more individuality, and I don't feel like that gets the best out of Dušan Vlahović. So how do you get the best out of him? Dušan Vlahović is a type of forward that wants to drop into midfield and link up play, so he's likely to pull centre-backs out of their position, because centre-back's natural instinct is to follow the centre-forward, which creates open space behind him for teammates to exploit. So what Dušan Vlahović does, he typically likes to get touch tight to centre-backs, so he draws them towards the ball. That creates a lot of space in behind, so his style needs third-man runs, which is deep midfielder runners, or wingers coming inside and exploiting the space he's just created. Because if no one's exploiting that space, you've just wasted that opportunity. So what I'm trying to say is there is a particular movement that he does prefer in the final third. He makes diagonal runs or vertical runs from centre to one direction, usually to the inside channel spaces. This drags defenders with him. And when defenders are out their position, it opens up a space for teammates to exploit. And this is how he's so good at linking up play. So his link-up game is more about movement rather than technical ability. So just to summarize, he's excellent with his back to goal, holding off defenders, shielding the ball, excellent, but he doesn't have that silkiness in possession to weave in and out of traffic. So when he's isolated, that's when he does get frustrated and lose possession. So he's not a self-creator, he thrives from service. But if there's one thing that stands out with Vlahović, it's his ability to score goals. So for me, if I'm trying to get the best out of him, I'm telling my midfielders and wingers to get as close to Vlahović as possible, because his ability to create 5 yards of space, if you're close at that space, it gives you a better opportunity to exploiting it. But he's also so good with layoff and combining with teammates. That's how you get the best out of him. Because when we move on to his weaknesses, the first thing I pointed out was isolation. He really struggles in isolated moments when he doesn't have bodies around him. So when he drops deep and he's not provided support, finds himself a little bit lost and disconnected in possession. In these moments, his first touch can seriously lack. So you have to get bodies around him for him to thrive. Somebody like Jacob Ramsey, who's known for those midfield runs from deep, making those third man runs, would thrive from a centre forward like Dušan Vlahović. So just to summarize him with his back to goal in simplistic terms, he's good at shielding the ball, holding up the ball, bringing others into play, but where he does lack a little bit is trying to roll his man or on the dribble, where he needs to be a little bit more cute, clever, in between tight spaces. That's where he does lack. So without bodies around him, he really struggles. Now, he's not a bad dribbler, because in open spaces, he's got this powerful running stride. He's really powerful for a centre forward, but he needs that open space to do it because he's a straight line dribbler. So my next area for improvement is a pure number 9. He is a pure number 9. When you think about old-fashioned number 9s, somebody that is powerful, got an elite ball striking ability, and more central than he is a drifter. So he's got a similar positional play to Robert Lewandowski is what I'm trying to say. It's more narrow than a wide drifter. So he doesn't offer that positional adaptability and he lacks the flexibility to adapt to hybrid roles. Isak plays a good hybrid role. When Anthony Gordon plays up front, he plays a good hybrid role because he's comfortable switching with Harvey Barnes, for example, for 5 minutes, or Anthony Elanga when the play's more fluid. Dušan Vlahović is a lot more narrow in his positional play. My third one is final third impact. He doesn't offer any chaos or unpredictability nearer to the goal when it comes to creation because he's not a natural creator or a natural dribbler. He's at his best when he's finishing the opportunity, not starting the opportunity. Now, I've also put shot selection in there, and this one's a funny one because I've just spoken about how good his instincts are, how good his anticipation is, how good his ball striking is. But sometimes he gets too over frustrated and begins to snatch at chances. I did speak about his emotional control. I think he does lose himself a little bit and he often favours power over placement. I know that's difficult for me to say considering the amount of goals he has scored and he's done it at the highest level. But if I was to give a fair judgment, he needs more composure in his shot selections. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean because I've got his shot map over the last 2 seasons and I can't lie, there's a big red flag. So over the last 2 seasons, he had an expected goals of 36, so he's meant to score 36 goals. He only scored 31, which is concerning. However, I think there's a bigger concern. He's missing 80% of his XG shot, which is really concerning. I think that's the biggest red flag. So what that simply means is the quality of finishing is lower than the quality of chances that's being created for him. So he's missing the target from 80% of his shots. Now, admittedly, what I do like is the amount of shots he gets off, but when I was talking about that composure, that needs to be added to his game. And again, it's difficult for me to sit here and say it because when you look at his record and his numbers on paper, they are very good, but they could be better. And the statistics show that because from his 265 shots, only 90 of them were on target. So his XG shot was 0.139, which is concerning, guys. For an elite striker at the highest level, I can't lie to you, that is quite concerning. But one thing I will say, he gets himself into decent positions. So the yellow bubbles are where he's scored. The red bubbles are where he's hit the target and not scored. And like the grey bubbles are where he's just missed the target completely. And as you can see, there's a lot of grey bubbles in and around that penalty spot, but also the 6-yard box. And that's what I was talking about. So before we look at some statistics and comparing them to Isak, Strand Larsen and Ollie Watkins, because I think he's got a similar style to Ollie Watkins. There's some positives, but there's also some negatives because I think the positives are he fits our system. Although he's not a drifter like Alexander Isak, I personally believe he played his best football at Fiorentina, where he had narrow runners. We see Anthony Gordon or Harvey Barnes, whoever's on the left, being quite narrow. We've seen it against Liverpool where he teamed up with Anthony Gordon, picking up those loose balls. I think that's where he would thrive, having somebody coming inside and helping him. But we've also got the midfield profile to actually get the best out of him, because when you add Jacob Ramsey to him, Bruno Guimaraes, who gets in and around that striker, those are the sorts of players that will get the best out of him when it comes to building up play. And another point I want to add, I think he's best in transition moments where he's got space to make that 5-yard dash and then get his shot off. And we all know Newcastle United thrive in transition moments because Dušan Vlahović actually does have decent pace for a man of his size, but it's his clever movement in and around the 18-yard box that really sets him apart from other strikers. So not only does his movement create space for himself, it also creates space for teammates. So he might not be a natural creator off the dribble, he's more of a natural creator off his intelligent movement. So there's definitely some pros, but also some concerns. So I want to hear your thoughts before we compare them to our next 3 strikers. Let me know what you think about what I've said. You might disagree, you might agree with us. Let me know in the comments. But firstly, I want to compare him to Strand Larsen because he's similar, but a little bit better in possession. And that's what I spoke about. When you get bodies around him, he's actually really comfortable in possession. So he's going to offer a little bit more in terms of the build-up to what Strand Larsen does. But I think Strand Larsen, when he's in the box, is going to give you a better target. Dušan Vlahović is all about getting across his man, drifting away from his man to create a little bit of a space for himself. So when you compare him to Alexander Isak, and this is what I was talking about, Dušan Vlahović isn't bad in possession, but he's just not excellent. But as you can see, you're not going to get as much creation from him either. So I thought I would show you a comparison to Ollie Watkins, and as you can see, he's a little bit more similar to Ollie Watkins. Yes, they both have different attributes where they're a little bit better in each other's attributes, but when it comes to playing style, they're quite similar in how they move and stuff. Dušan Vlahović is a little bit more powerful than Ollie Watkins, but when it comes, again, to playing style, where they position themselves on the pitch, it's a very, very similar. So look, guys, I want to hear your thoughts. about Dušan Vlahović, but also about the Champions League. Are you excited about the Champions League? Let me know your thoughts in the below. But also, would you spend the money, more importantly, the wages, on somebody like Dušan Vlahović? But as always, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I tried my best. That's all you can ask. But if you have enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts in the below. And once again, I just want to leave you with, away the lads.